I'm Tom Busby. I've been trading for a long time, I say, over 40 years. And, it's an interesting career to choose, but it's one that you just got to love because it doesn't feel like you're working when you're doing something you really like to do.
My name is Roger Scott. I've been doing this for a little over 30 years. Actually, in January, it'll be 31 years. And I just can't imagine doing anything else. I am what you call a lifer. Musicians call themselves lifers. We call ourselves lifers, too. We are lifers. Together, we've been doing this for over 70 years.
What is your background as a trader?
Okay, first of all, I started just like so many people out there. I didn't know anything about the stock market, and I didn't know the stock market. I didn't know the commodity market. I didn't know they were two separate markets, but I was in the Air Force at the time, and I bought a couple stocks, and those stocks were not a great history. One was Pan Am, if you know what that was. It went bankrupt. The other one was Eastern Airline. It went bankrupt. So you can say I wasn't easily turned off by the fact there was risk involved in trading.
I started trading back in the early 90s after getting a small insurance settlement after a car accident. And I just started law school. A friend of mine got me involved in the stock market, and the rest, as they say, is history.
In your opinion, what are the top 5 things that can help a new trader?
Well, first of all, you got to educate yourself. And to do that, you've got to read. I read a lot of books. I read books from traders out there in the field. I wanted to know about trading. I wanted to know what the characteristics of a good trader was, characteristics of a bad trader. And the top 5 things I would say: establish a goal, a reasonable goal. A lot of people have unrealistic goals. Secondly, I would have a process that I put in place where I'm going to enter, where I'm going to exit, and where I'm wrong. Once you get that down, then you got to have something stable to make you make those decisions. And you're going to have to play with that yourself because those decisions really change over time, but you have those core steps that you take. Finally, you always review. And this is something a lot of people won't tell you, but you're going to learn a lot more from your losses than you are from your wins because the losses are going to keep you up at night, the way it used to do me, trying to figure out what you did wrong. You might have not did nothing wrong. It just was that trade did not work. And so the final thing I would tell you is continual educate yourself, because if you educate yourself, you will find new avenues of opportunity. And that's what the world of trading is about, opportunity.
My 5 things are pretty straightforward. You got to come in with a game plan. If you don't have a game plan, if you're just trading off the cuff, you're a sitting duck. Number 2, emotional. You need to be in the right emotional state of mind. You can't think that this is going to be your biggest loss or biggest winner. You have to be grounded, and you have to have proper psychological control of yourself. Number 3, you got to write things down. You have to keep a diary of all of your trades. Number 4, you have to actually do the work and understand what you're doing. You have to have a good understanding of technical, fundamental analysis, and momentum. And number 5, don't think you always you know everything. Both Tibas and I, we learn constantly. Always be open to learning new things.
And I'd like to add one thing to what Roger just said, and that is that when you do this, do it with that goal in mind and keep reviewing your goal to make sure that you're making progress. That's the key. Make progress.
What are the 2 best trades of your career?
For me, it's pretty easy. Number 1, I bought Eastman Kodak at $5 a share, and the next day sold it at $50. That was probably the best trade of my career. The other best trade just happened recently where I was short the market on a big sell-off, and I ended up capturing a lot of money. I paid like a dime for the trade, sold it for $3 or $4. That adds up quick.
My favorite trades, and honestly, I've done too many trades to even remember, but one of them that comes to mind was a volatility trade that I did in the early 2000s where I bought a VIX option for about 15 cents and sold it for about $50. That was a doozy. And another one was in the mid-90s where we were in a bull market and I saw semiconductors were coming off. I sold some chip stocks. I sold the SMH. And the option became worth several $1,000s. Actually, it was a perfect timing on that stock. Another one was when and this was an interesting trade. It was when back in mid 2000s when volatility was really, really low. I went long the midterm volatility index and I held it for about 4 years, and that was a underlying for about a 300-400% return.
How would you advise someone that is new to trading that wanted to learn options?
Well, first of all, what I would tell people, options are very interesting from the standpoint they try to hook you in. They want you to buy a call or buy a put, and that's sort of, they tell you, oh, it's so easy. You're only going to lose what you put up. Well, guess what? You end up losing what you put up. So you have to learn options come in all different forms and all different strategies. There's a lot of good books out there about options. I would tell you, try to find you a mentor, somebody that can explain options to you. I would tell you to practice with options, and then I would tell you, whatever you do, think about options are a lot different than stocks. Stocks don't have an expiration date. With options, from the time you enter those options to the time it's closed out, it will expire. And that's why a lot of options will end up being worthless that you buy. So I always tend to be an option seller because I like that side of the game.
My opinion is a little different. I think people shouldn't even touch or even come near options till they understand and have at least a 75-80% win rate on the underlying stock and a profit factor above 1.5. Once you're past that, then you should try options. I treat options for the most part as a proxy for the underlying asset. And for me, options is a tool to take advantage of the actual stock. I don't really consider options as a separate factor in terms of movement. I consider them a separate animal in terms of how to trade them, but in terms of how I look at them, always market, stock, and then the option. So the option always comes last.
How do you deal with your emotions in trading?
First of all, I will tell you, my personality had to be altered because I was gung-ho, let's do it type attitude. Instead, when I'm a trader, it's all about the discipline involved in making the trade. In other words, where am I going to enter, where am I going to exit, and when I'm wrong. And so those emotions for me, and this is a real hard part, in my first book I talked about this, I used to carry those losses and they would keep blocking me from seeing other opportunities. So here's my rule, and it's my personal rule. At the end of the day, I consider I did my very best. Might take a few minutes to review what I did, but I move on. I leave it in the rearview mirror. Psychology-wise, I'm always fresh and optimistic before I ever put my hand on that mouse. That was something I learned. It took me a lot of years to learn that, and that's something I would share with people. Do your very best. That's all you can do, and at the end of the day, you got to move on.
My biggest problem was taking the current losing trade and carrying it in my mind forward. Basically, I had difficulty shrugging off my losing trades. If I was in a losing trade, I'm a losing trader. If I'm in a winning trade, I'm a winning trader. And a lot of folks, they let the trade define who they are and how they feel. And you have to get past that. You have to understand that every trade is just another trade. And there will be another trade, and you can't let the trade define who you are. A lot of beginners, a lot of people who don't have confidence, they let the trades define themselves, and then it reflects upon them, and then it throws them completely off. Don't let the trade you're in define who you are. It's just a trade. One of the things I heard about Tiger Woods, I don't play golf, but one of the things I heard about Tiger Woods is from the time he goes from one hole to the next, he forgets what he did in the previous hole. He's that good. Do not let your past impact your future. You have to learn from your past, but don't try to assimilate what happened in your last 2, 3, 4, 5 trades into the future. The 3, 4, 5 trades are random. They have no impact on reality in the long-term scheme of things. You have to ingrain that into your psyche.
And let me add something to that, because I heard this one time a long time ago, and it helps me put things in perspective. New traders tend to blow up a trade and get all emotional about one trade. Number one, they're probably not using level of bets towards their investments. That's another thing you need to learn. But here's the thought. This is one of the next 10,000 trades you're going to make. Put it in that light,
right,
and that way you will think about it the correct way. One of the next 10,000.
Right.
Do you have any clues you can share with the audience on how to find good trades?
A lot of techniques to find good trades. I tell you, the beautiful thing about trading is all you have to do is find the trades that are moving in the direction of the general market. I use futures first. Always go from the futures market to the stock market. Most people start with the stock market, but I start with the futures market. And if the futures market, like the S&P, which I follow on a daily basis, is going higher, then approximately 70-75% of all stocks are going to move higher. And so what I would tell people, learn about the general market before you get specifically inside the market. Then you have stocks that will go with the market, and you have stocks that will divert from the market. So you've got a lot of different ways to do it, but what you have to have at the end of the day is a picture of what you think is going to develop over time.
My solution is really simple. I want to find the stocks that are grossly outperforming the market, and I want to find stocks that are grossly underperforming the market. And those are the ones I look at. I want the outliers. I want the ones that are telling the market, we don't care about you. We're doing our own thing, and those are the only stocks I care about.
What are the top steps to crafting a great trade?
I always start with what I call the seven sisters. And what are the seven sisters? I developed this concept many years ago. E-mini, NASDAQ, Dow, crude oil, gold, European DAX, bonds. I can look at those seven markets and then figure out, by looking at those markets, where the opportunity is. And I take that to the stock market. Once I go inside the stock market, I find those trades that fit and match up with those future contracts that are moving. And then once I do that, I will have an entry, I call it a trigger. I have a target, I call my goal. And then I have a place on every trade affected by two things. Time I'm in that trade, especially when I'm trading options. And secondly, if that market underlying goes down, if I'm trying to be long at a certain price, I'll pitch it. And I have no qualms about getting out of bad decisions.
I keep it really simple. I have several setups that I like. I have gaps, I have the A-line, I have the Pro Trader relative strength. Each one has different rules. I follow those rules, and they give me an edge over time.
How do you handle a bad trade?
All right, so before I ever make a trade, I have a escape hatch is what I think about. Where am I going to get out of this trade? Usually with options, I use time, and that's 72 hours. So if I'm in a trade, and I'm doing many trades, 72 hours after I've been in that trade, I want to be either making money or look at that underlying stock and say, I got a chance to make money. But it's like a review period. That's the way I'll exit that trade. Another way I do it, I look at my account, and if it exceeds a certain limit, meaning approximately about 30% of what I paid for it, I'll probably pitch it and get out of it on the same day I did it. I have no qualms about exiting a bad decision. And I didn't have that when I first started. I used to hug these babies all the way to the last day because I always had that hope. And then when I start thinking about hope, guess what happens? You end up with nothing.
I use the 15-day EMA, really nice, simple, clean, or the closest pivot near the 15-day EMA. It keeps me out of trouble most of the time.
You have both seen a lot in your time trading. What is one thing you would tell every trader?
It's a good question. What I would tell every trader, come to my morning pre-market must-watch in my VIP room where I give you guys, where I could cut your learning curve by a really good percentage. Start following somebody who's been doing this for a long, long time and somebody who's consistent. If you can do that, then you will start seeing that this is something you can actually do. If you can't get into your head that yes, you can actually do this, there is no way you'll be able to do this over time. You won't have the confidence. So you have to create an unbelievable, unshakable belief in yourself before you can be continuously and consistently profitable. And there is no way you will be able to create that belief in yourself till you see someone else doing it. Oh, if he can do it, I can do it. But if you don't see anyone doing it, it's going to be hard to convince yourself that you could do it especially when you're losing money. So the best thing you can do for yourself is save yourself a lot of time, find somebody who's consistently profitable, who makes consistent decisions using consistent tools, and follow that person, whoever that person may be.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback a little bit on what Roger said. The way I did it was, I said, I want to see somebody do it live. If they can do it live in front of you, that removes a lot of times when you're skeptical or have no belief, or you can see them do it and then emulate what they do. They'll have analysis, they'll have interpretation, and if they have execution right there in front of you, there's no better way to figure out, hey, I can learn to do this. That's what I would tell people.
Can you tell everyone what you personally do to prepare for the day and make decisions?
It's very simple. If you log into my pre-market must-watch, where I go live every single day at 8 a.m., just go to the YouTube Roger Scott channel, and you will see exactly how and what I do to prepare every day. I start with the broad market. I look at European markets. I look at the commodity market. I look at all the points in the major indices. And then I look at all the stocks to the upside and downside. It takes me about an hour, and I do it every single day. It's recorded, and we get anywhere from 450 to 500 people in the room every day. And you're welcome to attend and watch exactly how I prepare for the market each and every day. And
we both know how important it is for you to hear the right information. So I do the same thing. In the morning, I can do what I call T-Buzz TV. T-Buzz TV, people subscribe to it, they listen to me, they listen to my rhythm. I give them a big picture approach. I will give them what the market's doing, what to look for, and they are also welcome to attend events that I have that are live right there in front of you, where you can see exactly how this works. So I think being there every day, doing it every day, you got an opportunity there to take advantage of that. For people that, he's been around over 30 years, I've been around over 40 years, you're going to learn something, and as you learn something, you're going to get better at this game of trading. And when you get really good at it, you have the perfect job for yourself, because you can do this to, Roger was talking, we're lifers. You can do this until the day you don't want to do it anymore, and that's the beautiful thing about trading. Folks, I wanted to do this. Roger and I have been talking about this a long time because I think it's good for you to hear, maybe to answer some of these questions and give you food for thought. I'll also tell you that this was just an idea, and we'd like to hear some feedback from you. If you want more of it, we'll do it in the future. But Roger, thank you for being here.
My pleasure, T-Buzz.
And like I always say, see you on the flip side.